We start in Zimbabwe this hour, where there have been calls for the different leaders or different groups in the opposition movement for democratic change to try and iron out their differences. A high court in Harare has ruled that Dr. Thokozani Kupe has ruled in her favour, suggesting she is the legal leader of the movement for democratic change, and she was the only vice president of the party who was elected in 2016. Former MDC leader Morgan Tsvangirai unilaterally appointed two other vice presidents to the party in the same year, including Nelson Chamisa, who led the MDC during its election campaign last year. Well, Thokozani Kupe, the former Deputy Prime Minister of Zimbabwe, is on the line now from Bulawayo. Ms. Kupe, good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Do you believe after this court ruling that you are now the only and rightful leader of the MDC?
Yes, good evening, listeners. I am indeed the rightful leader of the Movement for Democratic Change, T, for now. You know, this is the result of the court ruling of the 8th of May, where Elias Mashavire took a matter to court after he felt his constitutional rights had been violated. And I'm happy that today we celebrate democracy, we celebrate the rule of law, we celebrate the protection of the weak and the vulnerable.
It seems that the party is in danger of splitting into factions. Do you believe you're the rightful leader of the entire party, including what looks, at least from Johannesburg tonight, a faction that seems to be led by Nelson Chamisa?
When we talk about leadership, it is not just about mobocracy. It is about following rules and regulations and following constitutions. As a party, the MDC-T was built on a foundation of democracy. It was built on a foundation of constitutionalism. It was built on a foundation of the rule of law. And therefore, as a law-abiding party, we are supposed to follow what the law says. And hence, I accept the court judgment, and I believe that it must be implemented in the letter and in the spirit in which it was written.
From what I can understand, you have actually reached out to him. You want to talk to him and the people he represents. It seems that his group does not want to talk to you. Has he formally said he won't talk to you to try and resolve your differences?
Yeah, I have contacted my lawyer, Professor Love Momaduku, so that he gets in touch with their lawyers so that we speak. But unfortunately, I see people, who are speaking. But unfortunately, those people, as we speak right now, according to the court judgment, they are not members of the MDC because the court says we must go back to February 14.
All right, if you go back to February, you mean February 2014, the situation as it was then before the appointment by then leader Morgan Tsvangirai of these two other vice presidents. Is that what you mean?
Exactly. This is exactly what I mean.
All right. What for you then is the best way out of this? How can the situation be resolved without a longer term split in the MDC, which, if I remember correctly, has split in the past already?
What we're supposed to do, we are supposed to meet as the standing committee then, before the 14th of February, before the death of our president, Morgan Tsvangirai. We are supposed to meet and then implement the court judgment. The court judgment is very simple. We must call for an extraordinary Congress, which is going to elect a substantive president. And this is exactly what we need to do. This is why I have engaged lawyers so that they talk to the other parties so that we meet and find a way on how to sit down and implement this court ruling.
Okay, you want to put this leadership question to party members, is that right? You want your members of the MDC-T to decide?
Yes, we want the members of the MDC to decide, but already the court has said we are supposed to go back to February 14. Remember, President Morgan Tsvangirai died on the 14th of February 2018. And that is where we're supposed to start from, where the Constitution is very clear that after the death of the president, the deputy president assumes the office of president for not more than 12 months and then call for an extraordinary Congress which will elect a substantive president. That is where we are going to go. I am going to call for an extraordinary Congress together with my other colleagues, and we are going to go and elect a substantive president.
Do you believe then you would win that election? You would run in that election and you would win it? You would be then voted into office as the leader of MDC-T?
I don't know what the people would decide because as a Democrat, the people are the ones who have the right of choosing leaders. even if Congress was to choose another person, I will not say no, because whoever Congress decides to choose, I will accept that person. What I refused, was a situation where people said, you cannot be a president because you are a woman. You cannot be a president because you are in Ndebele. And they refused to follow the constitution based on that, and they started doing things in an unconstitutional way. And I am saying, here is a court judgment which has vindicated some of us. Let's go back to the Constitution. Let's follow through the Constitution. Let's go to an extraordinary Congress. Let Congress choose whoever. I will support that person who is going to be chosen by Congress if Congress does not choose me.
Last year, the MDC-T led by Nelson Chamisa came fairly close to unseating ZANU-PF in that election. Do you believe that you would actually be able to win an election of the Zimbabwean people for MDC-T if you were leader?
If I had been given an opportunity to do what I was supposed to do, in leading the MDC, I would have won. But remember what happened. I was almost bent in a hut in Bulawayo during President Tsvangirai's funeral. I was beaten. Our cars were smashed. I didn't have $1 in my name. All the money was given to Nelson Chamisa and the others. I did not have $1, not even a cent. So with all these things, under such circumstances, what do you think would happen? If I had been given the equal opportunity with others, I would have performed better.
All right. There's obviously a lot to do now within the MDC. Do you believe it's possible to keep the organisation unified in the future if you have the extraordinary conference? Do you believe that it could still be a cohesive political force without divisions that seem to have been there before?
If you look at what happened previously, all the people who were in the structures and in 2014, most of them have been disenfranchised. They've been removed from the positions that they were in. And those are the people who are ready to go and make sure that they unite their party. The party comes back to where it was, the party that we formed in 1999. That is what the people want. And I am very sure and confident that we are going to be able to call for an extraordinary Congress together, and we'll be able to unite the party and have that party, that we built with its culture and its character. We are a social democratic party with values and principles, and those values and principles are supposed to be followed and respected.
Dr. Thokozani Kupe, the former Deputy Prime Minister of Zimbabwe, thank you very much indeed for your time. Really do appreciate it here on The Full View on SABC.